Tyler Perry was once their lifeline. Not a palace, not a protocol, a billionaire filmmaker with a mansion. Crown and set the world ablaze with headlines. It wasn't King Charles who came calling. It was Tyler. The man behind the camera stepped out from behind the scenes and became their real-life guardian, offering them sanctuary. It was their castle, his jet, their escape route, and Tyler. He wasn't just a friend. Meghan named him godfather to her child. That's not a Hollywood gesture, that's sacred. Royal-adjacent sacred. Netflix rolled. Smiles sparkled. Baby gifts were passed across pristine coffee tables. Tyler, glowing with gratitude, called it an honor. Meghan, tearful, said he was family. It looked perfect, too perfect. But now lies a contract and a clause that could destroy everything Meghan's built. One that gives Tyler Perry, should he feel betrayed, the full legal right to speak freely. The man who once saved her family might finally be ready to talk. Before we go deeper, don't forget to like the video and drop a comment below. If someone gave you everything, a home, security, loyalty, and you cut them off the second they became inconvenient, would you expect them to stay silent? At one point, Tyler Perry was more than just a host. He was a lifeline. Not a name on a guest list, not a favor repaid, but the man who quite literally opened his home to two people the world had seemingly turned against. When Harry and Meghan were drowning in royal fallout, cut off, criticized, and hunted by press, it was Perry's front gates that opened without hesitation. And this wasn't just celebrity charity. It was personal. He didn't just give them a wing in his Beverly Hills mansion, he gave them a haven. His private jets stood ready. Security was ready. Every comfort, every protection, quietly provided. No interviews, no invoices. Just shelter. To Harry and Meghan. This wasn't just generous. It was life-altering. Meghan was so moved. She gave Tyler something few outside her inner circle have ever received. A permanent role in her child's life. She named him godfather too. Lilibet. That's not just symbolic in royal terms. It's intimate. Its legacy. Netflix cameras captured it all. Tyler beamed. Meghan wept. Harry, for once, looked like he could breathe. The trio felt untouchable. Bonded not by blood but by choice. And for a while, that choice looked unbreakable. But then came the turning point. A lawsuit. $260 million. Filed against Tyler Perry by actor and former colleague Derek Dixon, who accused Perry of running a work environment laced with fear, intimidation, and alleged retaliation. The headlines were immediate and brutal. The man once hailed for his uplifting stories and generous heart was now facing damning accusations of behind-the-scenes toxicity, and in the eye of that storm, Meghan Markle disappeared. Not from the public, from him. No statement, no message of support, not even a post. Within hours of the story breaking, something strange happened. Tyler's presence on Meghan's digital world wiped. His photo vanished from old reels. His name removed from past captions. That sweet post celebrating Lilibet's christening. Gone. It was as if he'd never been there at all. But here's where it gets unsettling. Because Meghan didn't just ignore the headlines, she actively erased the man who once rescued her. And fans noticed clips started surfacing. Old interviews, past mentions, deleted stories, all pointing to one glaring question. Where's Uncle Tyler? But Meghan's team? Silent. Not a peep. And that silence, ironically, spoke volumes. But the real shock wasn't what Meghan did. It was what she didn't account for. Tyler kept everything. He had the emails, the texts, the voice notes, the unfiltered moments. From private chats about Netflix scenes to tearful confessions over tea, every bit of it was saved. And inside those records, was a clause. A very specific clause. Stay tuned because what that clause allows, Tyler Perry to do could flip Meghan's empire upside down. And we're just getting started. In Hollywood, confidentiality agreements are as common as coffee. But the one Tyler had his guests sign, it had a unique twist. Everyone who stayed in his home, including Harry and Meghan, reportedly agreed to strict privacy terms. No leaks, no tell-alls, no social media slips, but tucked deep inside that document was something Meghan's team may have overlooked. A clause that reads almost like prophecy. If either party, guest or host, publicly disowns or distances themselves from the other, the non-offending party has the right to share personal context in order to protect their reputation. Translation. If Meghan erases Tyler, he's allowed legally to speak his truth. And not just vague musings, not Instagram captions or PR blurbs. We're talking full sit-down interviews, recorded conversations, and a goldmine of context that could reframe everything we thought we knew. And by all appearances, Meghan may have already triggered that clause from the moment she scrubbed his name. Insiders say Perry's legal team began quietly reviewing their rights, what he could say, how far he could go, what he still had in writing. And it's more than most people realize. Emails detailing their first weeks in his mansion, photos from behind the scenes, planning sessions, screenshots of Meghan brainstorming content, hashing out statements, and weighing royal blowback. All in Perry's living room. He wasn't just a friend, he was there for the strategy, the raw moments, the breakdowns no camera ever saw. And now he might be ready to speak. Networks have already started circling. One top executive even joked, "This could out Oprah." Tyler hasn't spoken publicly yet, but the offers, they're rolling in, and his team is reportedly taking meetings. Because here's the thing. Perry never asked for attention. He's a mogul, not a headline chaser, but being deleted by someone you once considered family, that cuts deep. And according to those close to him, that cut is starting to bleed. But the real blow? It wasn't digital. It was personal. Coming up next, Meghan's team makes a critical misstep, and it backfires in a way they never expected. It started with a press release, an old, seemingly harmless announcement. The one where Meghan's team had proudly declared Tyler Perry as godfather to her daughter. It was public, formal, and deliberate. It had been approved, stamped, and shared with the world. But now, with the lawsuit swirling and questions mounting, someone from Meghan's crisis team reportedly tried to retract it, quietly, discreetly. But they were too late. Royal trackers had already archived the page. Screenshots were circulating. Every trace Meghan attempted to erase was being collected, reposted, timestamped, and examined. And suddenly, what looked like distance started to resemble guilt. That deletion spree, the vanishing photos, the missing captions, the erased Godfather post, didn't fade into obscurity. It ignited suspicion. And more importantly, it drew attention to what wasn't being said. Why would someone go to such great lengths to erase a man who once provided sanctuary? And here's the twist. Every move Meghan made to protect her image only gave Tyler more ground to speak. Because the clause in that NDA, it doesn't just protect secrets, it protects reputations. If Tyler believes his name was harmed by being wiped from Meghan's narrative, he's within his rights to set the record straight, with proof. And according to insiders, that's exactly what his team is preparing to do. They've begun organizing archives not for revenge, but for insurance. Every text, every call, every photo, meeting, voice memo, and behind-the-scenes moment from those early Montecito days. Not as a leak, as a shield, because if Meghan continues to pretend Tyler Perry was never part of her story, he's going to show the world just how deeply embedded he really was. And here's the part Meghan's team might not have calculated for. This isn't just about optics, it's about trust. And Perry built his entire empire on that single word, to be cut off so swiftly, without warning, not just ignored, but erased, feels like a betrayal far deeper than any headline. And for a man like Perry, loyalty isn't a brand strategy. It's personal, but things were about to get worse. Because while Meghan's team scrambled to bury the narrative, Tyler Perry's silence began to crack. He hasn't done an interview. Not yet. But behind closed doors, Perry's team is sending signals. Industry insiders say he's been approached by multiple networks, each offering staggering sums for the exclusive. Not gossip rags, major platforms. The kind of interviews that shape public perception and make headlines around the globe. One studio even pre-booked their production space just in case. But the most telling sign? Sources say Perry hasn't dismissed the idea. In fact, he's listening, not because he's desperate for attention, but because he's tired of being used. He didn't sign up to be a footnote in someone else's PR strategy. He opened his home, risked his brand, and was publicly thanked until suddenly he wasn't. And Meghan, her team, has gone into full distraction mode. Her Instagram feed has turned pastel, filled with polished photos of wellness, skincare, recipes, and garden teas. The messaging is clear, soft, serene, wholesome. But the comments say otherwise. Where's Tyler? Why won't you address this? You can't just erase people. Even major sponsors are getting nervous. One luxury fashion label is said to have paused an upcoming campaign featuring Meghan till the dust settles. And that's the part that scares her team the most, because the longer the silence stretches, the colder it feels. And when your entire image is built on empowerment, empathy, and truth, ghosting the godfather of your child sends a message no pastel filter can cover, especially when that godfather has a legal green light to talk, and what he knows goes far beyond hospitality. Tyler Perry wasn't just offering them shelter, he was part of the inner circle. He sat in on strategy sessions. He heard the unfiltered worries. He comforted them during breakdowns. He witnessed firsthand the cracks forming beneath the royal exit fairy tale. And he documented it not to betray, but to protect. He was there when Meghan first spoke of her fears about the press. When Harry panicked over how his father was handling their security. When deals with Netflix were being mapped out in real time in his living room. That means Perry holds something more powerful than gossip. He has context. He knows which headlines broke them, which phone calls went unanswered, which names were whispered in panic, and which ones were circled as too risky to associate with. So, if he talks, it won't just be juicy, it will be devastating because it won't be hearsay. It'll be dates, recordings, screenshots, proof, and if he frames it as defending his character, which, legally, he can, there's little Meghan's team can do to stop it. That's why legal experts are calling this clause a ticking time bomb, because Meghan's quiet erasure of Tyler Perry may have crossed the exact line that unlocks everything he's been holding back. And now the calls keep coming. Media, lawyers, talent agents, publicists, they all want to know, is Tyler Perry about to break his silence? And if he does, what happens next could rewrite the entire Sussex narrative. Up next, Meghan's carefully curated brand faces its biggest threat yet. A man with nothing to lose and everything on record. Meghan Markle didn't just walk away from the royal family. She walked toward something, a new brand, a global identity built on grace under fire, selective vulnerability, and the polished promise of reinvention. Her empire isn't made of brick or title. It's curated in pixels, lifestyle ventures, podcasts, partnerships, speaking engagements, skincare lines, and the soft glow aesthetic of post-palace peace. But the real currency? Trust. The belief that Meghan is honest, loyal, and empowering, the woman who survived the crown and came out softer, wiser, better. But Tyler Perry's silence, it's starting to say otherwise. Because when someone like him, warm, beloved, historically discreet, gets cut off without warning, it tells people something far more dangerous than drama. It whispers that the loyalty might be conditional, that the empowerment might be a mask, that the reinvention might be a strategy. And now analysts are picking up on it. Marketing experts, brand partners, PR firms. One media tracker flagged a noticeable drop in Meghan's public sentiment score, the same index used to assess brand viability in celebrity partnerships. But it's not because of the lawsuit. It's the pattern. Jessica Mulroney, Serena Williams, Oprah, once fixtures in Meghan's orbit, now eerily absent. And while public statements say friendships evolve, insiders point to a timeline, a pattern of distancing. Every time someone becomes inconvenient, poof. Silence. Now Perry. And the public's not buying the coincidence anymore, because erasing someone who housed you, protected your family, and stood beside you when the world turned isn't just bad optics. It's a betrayal that sticks. And the more Perry holds his tongue, the louder the silence becomes, because it's no longer just about what he might say, it's about why. Meghan is so determined to ensure he doesn't, and it's pushing him closer to the mic. According to sources inside Perry's camp, it wasn't just the erasure that stung, it was the attempted rewrite, because once Meghan's team tried to retract the Godfather press release, the very one that validated his role in her child's life, something changed to Perry. That wasn't damage control. That was character assassination. You can ignore a headline. You can let a caption disappear, but trying to erase a relationship, one that he considered sacred, that's not branding. That's betrayal. And here's the part that has Meghan's team bracing. Tyler Perry doesn't need to burn bridges to make a point. All he has to do is show the truth. The original christening invitation, the messages about chosen family, the signed cards, the recordings, the strategy talks, the sleepless nights, the breakdowns in bathrobes and unfiltered doubts whispered in safe spaces, and the end. If Meghan's erasure is viewed as public disownment, that clause becomes a switch, and Perry gets to speak. Not to hurt her, but to protect himself. And in doing so, he could unravel the very story Meghan's been selling. Because this isn't about gossip, it's about trust, legacy, and truth. And Perry, of all people, knows how powerful truth can be when it's spoken plainly. Inside Tyler Perry's production office, the phones haven't stopped ringing. Media companies, producers, crisis managers, book agents, even competitors. Everyone wants a piece of the narrative, but Perry hasn't said yes. Not yet. Those close to him say he's torn, not because he doesn't have something to say, but because he still believes in boundaries, in dignity, in choosing peace, until peace is no longer an option. But here's the catch. Every day that Meghan's team stays silent, every photo that stays deleted, every caption that goes unreposted pushes Perry closer to that option. And if he does decide to speak, it won't be vague. It won't be cryptic. It will be structured, legal, documented, and most importantly, undeniable, because Tyler Perry wasn't an outsider, he was there. At the beginning, at the breakdown, at the rebuild. He didn't just witness the brand, he helped shape it. And if Meghan continues to act like he was never part of that journey, he might just remind the world how it really happened, and once that door opens, there's no closing it. Back in Montecito, Harry watches the world he helped create begin to wobble. He remembers the quiet kindness Perry showed when the royal walls slammed shut, when his father stopped taking calls, when security vanished. When home felt like nowhere, it was Tyler who said, "Come." And now, the man who once protected him sits at a crossroads, not out of bitterness, but because he knows what's being done to him isn't just personal, it's calculated and hairy. He's caught in the middle, torn between gratitude and loyalty, and the silence that's being used as a shield. But for Meghan, the course is set. No attachments, no liabilities, no connections that can't be controlled. Tyler Perry is no longer a chapter in her story, but he still holds the entire book, and if he opens it, even a page. The carefully curated brand Meghan has spent years building from royal escapee to media mogul could begin to collapse under the weight of the truth, because this isn't about deleting a photo, it's about erasing a man who gave everything and was tossed aside the moment he became a risk. And that, in the court of public opinion, might be the one betrayal even the most loyal fans can't forgive. So the question isn't if Perry will speak, it's when. And when he does, will the world still see Meghan as the survivor? Or the strategist who left her godfather in the shadows? If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. Do you think Meghan's silence is a smart PR move, or a calculated betrayal of someone who helped raise her up? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video. Subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss what happens next, because this story, it's still unfolding, and when the silence finally breaks, the fallout could be unforgettable.